fandom Puritans have this warped concept of therapy. Whenever you're online and there's some kind of discourse about morally correct fiction in any capacity, typically people who are on the conservative side of the argument encourage you to go to therapy. These people do not believe in art therapy, or at least do not believe in the psych journals and the years and years of study that prove that fictional spaces and art spaces are really good places for people to cope and process. When you try to counter these conservatives by explaining that you have been to therapy and your therapist not only, supports your coping mechanism, but encourages it, they don't believe you, or they believe your therapist is a fake therapist or whatever. Conservatives have a fantasy about therapy, that therapy fixes what is broken, because conservatives believe there is something broken in the first place. They view therapy as an institutionalized correctional mechanism. They view it as carceral. They think that therapists are people that are there to tell you what is right and what is wrong, and they are there to punish you if you are wrong, and they are there to tell you if you are bad. To these conservatives, therapists are not people that are here to help you survive and cope and heal, but instead they are people here to correct you. Therapists are accessories of the state, according to conservatives. And so in these fandom arguments, bringing up the idea of therapy will always be a lose-lose situation, because the people who are in actual therapy, who have been supported by therapists in their coping mechanisms, in their fiction, in their art, they will always have to be overly vulnerable about their experiences in the psych world, only to continue to be punished, unbelieved, etc. It's just not worth the conversation. But it is worth a conversation around the idea of what therapy actually is. Therapy is not a place to be told you are wrong and bad. It's a place to be empathized with, validated. It is a place for you to heal, to feel safe, to learn coping mechanisms that can help you survive till tomorrow. Therapy can obviously be hard work, and your therapist is not going to tell you everything you're going to want to hear. But your therapist will encourage you to live a healthier, stronger life. But they cannot fix you. They're not going to insult you. They're not going to act like a correctional officer. They're going to be there as a doctor. They're going to help you. And it's not helpful to tell people that they're inherently evil and wrong. It also shocks me, again, how much of this conversation centers around the idea of art therapy and what therapy coping mechanisms are good or bad, what coping mechanisms are morally correct. My therapist is a really big fan of Game of Thrones. I have talked to him about fan fiction and stuff before, and he has made the most progress with me as someone who suffers with suicidal ideation into getting me to be happy to live again. So like the idea of art therapy and fictional coping being a one-to-one comparison about like therapy and stuff is insane to me. It just kind of proves to me who has been to therapy and who hasn't, and why we need medical care and therapy to be accessible to your average American, because so many people need therapy and don't understand what therapy is. And if it was more normalized, perhaps we wouldn't have to explain to people that therapists are not judges, they're doctors.